welcome then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the 4th round of the... What's the name of this tournament again, Marshall? Oh, goodness.
Oh, God.
I'm so rusty.
Battle of the Ancients.
Battle of the Ancients. Welcome to round 4 of the Battle of the Ancients tournament. Oh, we have AndreasG and Matiz in purple versus Burntcustard and Bot in black, playing on PA's interpretation of Satan's Clutch, a throwback to those of you who remember to the Supreme Commander, which is the strategy game on which the entire PA ecosystem was based. That and Total Annihilation, which was the game from the 90s. If there are any old folks in the chat who recognise the name of Total Annihilation,
even the young folks know that one.
Even the young folks know that one. If you're a fan, if you played it back in the day, give us a wave in the chat so I can feel old together with you. Alright, players are now dropping some pings. Now, this map, there is a single spit of land connecting the two spawns through which our teams can choose to send land units. Alternatively, there is sea either side for naval fights, and of course there is air which can go absolutely anywhere. And if you really feel like getting fancy, there are a few amphibious units which can really throw things out every so often.
Interestingly, what do we see? We see one commander in each team, placing one on the front position there. So for Team Gunmetal Grey of Burntcustard and Bot, we've got Burntcustard in the forward position. Bot there on the plinth behind. When the casters forget the name of the tournament. Sin makes no sense.
That is entirely on me. I've been yeah. Marshall knows what he's doing. I'm just here for the the showstopper. I think they call me. Stopping the show literally because I've forgotten the name of it. Right, vehicles, bots on the front line.
Yeah, and that is Matiz on the front line there. Andreas with his nice king beast that looks like he's sprouting 5 bananas out of his head. From this angle. The monkey beast. Going vehicles and air there. Of course, vehicles with the drifters and the strikers can be quite potent here. But because these guys have placed their commanders close to this sort of inlet bay here, in 4v4 games, this is quite... this one here, WrongCat, is quite an important area to win over, because of the amount of command it has over both the two spawns and the middle, whereas the opposite side tends to only have command over the middle, the naval expansions.
I think someone didn't give Burntcustard that memo. Looks to me like he's just gone ahead and taken the side which doesn't matter so much. But then again, if it's not seen to matter so much, maybe it'll be left uncontested. Maybe he'll be able to put out some sneaky amphibious assaults from that side. Who
if it's
knows?
Not seen?
Oh no, let's not do this again. I've had enough navel gazing for one day.
Hey! Oh, dearie me. Well, I'll give us a heading. Having a look over here in purple, they seem to be doing a little bit of backwards expansion there. A few fouls back up onto the rear expo. Of course, it wouldn't necessarily make sense for these guys in a 2v2 situation to spawn quite so far back. But Gunmetal Grey there, as you say, Burntcustard, putting out the naval factory in the middle of the ocean over there. That's actually quite an interesting strat because it just instantly provides command over that entire region, which Pink can't easily answer unless they deliberately go over there. Because if you look around the rest of the planet there, they've got a long way to get over into the water over there, unless they pop up a little bit here. So it's all about, can they get the blockades going fast enough? And it looks like they're preferring to go and blockade this middle spit of land here.
And it's interesting, as you just pinged that, I just saw some build queue go up there from the purple team, exactly as you say, to prevent amphibious assaults through the back door. I suspect that's probably a known thing to players who know the meta and know this map well, who will understand, oh look, that's a weak, vulnerable point, we should definitely put something there just in case. It may well be that they've scouted and can see. In fact, no, that's not the case. They haven't scouted that site at all. It's just a purely precautionary measure. Some early fabricator losses for the black team seem to have been made up for. However, what do we just see on this side? That's a fabricator and an expansion about to go down to a single drifter, or in fact a small force of 3 drifters. Really easy wins there for purple. Good attempt to stifle the eco. There's a pelican floating around in the vicinity. I can't see anything underneath of it. Has he dropped something on the north? Looks like he's dropped a drifter just there with that pelican.
Huh. Well, that's
Not
just
that there's
trying to
anything
deny
there.
the expansions. That's all they're trying to do here.
And it's a really good tactic. He's denied them that expansion. They've denied them this one here with these drifters. And that's really good placement. They're just popping down the odd unit here and there. That's being a real pain in the backside. And this torpedo launcher here denying this bay to the black team now. Purple got in there first. Black are going to have a real fight to get in there now. They're going to need to use air, or they will need to use long-range gunfire from ashore to push into that bay now. Maybe a pelter? Would a pelter have the range for that, do you think?
I reckon so.
Oh, wow. That's a com push.
It is indeed.
That's a very aggressive com push.
That's Matiz for you. They're trying to secure their wins back. And the Inferno is just going to pop out there, but the commander going to finish it off. He's going to get a few licks of flame on him. Galvanise that paintwork. And
do you think this is going to be enough to threaten that T2 factory now? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Almost certainly it's going to fall.
Gunmetal Grey is going to have to respond to this with his entire T1 force, which is vulnerable to a couple of Uber cannons. Here, Matiz will be wise to this, probably put up a few walls after his first Uber cannon. Retreating back a little bit into...
He's taking some hits.
He is, yeah.
But that's it, Gunmetal Grey not committing any more of his army to that force, knowing how strong the com is against T1 units. But these orcas now from purple really being a nuisance right on Gunmetal Grey's front doorstep. They're going to have to pull back from the shoreline. There's no other solution for it. They don't have anything in this force that can counter those orcas shelling them from the sea. Although, having said that, this command here is being shelled by one of Gunmetal Grey's orcas from offshore as well.
Matiz here, maybe overextending his commander a little bit and needs to back off just a smidge.
That's a ping there from purple. They've seen the threat from the water, and that's a warning there from Matiz. Don't send your commander too close because there's some bad stuff happening over there.
Let's have a look around the backside of the planet very, very quickly though. Purple expanding over there with some pelican drops onto the platforms in order to claim that metal expo for themselves there. Meanwhile, Gunmetal Grey is just expanding to the naval mix as you would expect. But it's all the action is happening around this purple push here, right in the middle, isn't it?
Oh, that's just such aggressive play, and Gunmetal Grey have got no choice but to react to this, and that's exactly what they're doing. They are, this front player here, which I believe is Burntcustard, he's diverting all of his attention to just keeping this base alive, and that means that he is not thinking about expanding. He's not thinking about going up to T2. Although, having said that, this T2 factory is actually online now, and that is something which Matiz and his T1 army are going to have to be wise to. That said, a lot of good ideas in here. This T2 factory is right on the front line, is vulnerable. Is it actually going to be able to produce enough to repel this?
No,
I wouldn't
no
have
way.
said so. That leveler is going to get absolutely destroyed.
The commander having to respond to it. Look, he's pushing out. He's going to go in for the Uber cannons.
Leveler now taking the shots. Commander's putting himself in harm's way. Those orcas there.
I think what I need to do when the system editor gets its next tweaks is adjust this little spit of land so that it's more central. Because at the moment, as people in chat are pointing out, this is a bit of map knowledge here. Most of the time when you play 4v4 on this one, or any time you play on this one, winning this little bay here generally results in a GG.
And you can see why. Nothing can come anywhere near it, and that means nothing can go across the spit of land there connecting the two bases. You can't send any land units across. You can't use water to push it out because they've already got command of the water. So you're stuck using air, and all they've got to do is put in a few defensive AA turrets, and that's it. You're locked out of that patch of sea. I think we're probably going to be seeing GG's called fairly soon. That loss of that T2 factory is a significant amount of metal gone. That commander is vulnerable now, trying to micro himself away from all these grenadier shots.
You could push in and get
nice
an Uber cannon.
cannon.
There we go.
Fantastic bit of Ubering there. Good micro. Can he survive this?
He's just got to save his mate's base at this point because his mate doesn't really have any units in there. He's just got 3 air factories.
But is it really worth saving at this point? 3 times the eco.
Oh, I didn't even look at that.
Army count 5 times the army count. Double the fabricators. treble the factories. Gunmetal Grey don't have a huge amount they can do here besides a snipe. Let's pause.
In pause. Bot 1 DC.
Bot 1 DC. I suspect that. Well, you may well have called GG. We haven't seen it.
No, we would be able to see it. Interesting though, because that whole base up the top there hasn't been doing anything with that commander, and there's an idle mech there. So it's debatable that bot 1 was having technical issues the whole game, and that Custard was trying to control this because, as I say, you know, there's that empty mech there that wasn't controlled. So possibly a little bit more than meets the eye here.
Potentially, it did look like, as you say, all this rear expansion here was just completely ignored, and I suspect that was how they divided up the jobs. Burntcustard will have said, "Look, let me take the front line."
We're going to say GG, says Custard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, I think that was a thorough thrashing.
That did look very one-sided from my perspective, I have to say. And as you've said, and as the chat have said, that's map knowledge. That's knowing the significance of that little stretch of water. There we are. GG's have been called. Com 1 down the tubes.
And Com 2.
Com 2. Interestingly, just seen in the chat, in the Discord chat that is, Patar and Sompi have beaten Klops and Neptunio.
Yeah. All the
one upset that would have been
things today, yeah. We go.
And away we go.
We want to see again.
Name that TV series.
I don't know.
Chat will tell you shortly, I'm sure. Oh wow, okay. It's very ridgy, as the name would suggest.
Kind of tricky to see. Where are the spawns? Look for the clumps of 4 and you may find spawns. Or we could have 2 spawns, holes like this. In fact, actually no, it looks like there. We've got one there.
Yep.
And one there.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Oops, I need to do that again. So, interesting. Right, let's pop this.
You know, I'm not sure I like this tone in chat. Sit Party saying that you need to find a hot girl as a caster for the next tournament, implying that I'm not attractive enough to get 200 plus viewers just on my
No, I think he was talking to me,
tones.
to you needing to find a hot girl.
I
mean, where am I going to find a hot girl, folks?
Grills on the internet don't exist. We know this.
I mean, if only planes were happening right now, that could possibly be a thing, but, you know, planes are kind of not happening at the moment.
No, they're not. Well,
not with ease.
Having said that, my wife is currently on an aeroplane right this second, but that's out of necessity because citizenship stuff. There we go, there's your 4 spawns.
Here we are. So, oh no, we're not crossed. Okay, I thought we were crossed for a second.
Welcome everybody to the 5th round of the Battle of the Ancients tournament.
Hey, got it right.
I am TheWrongCat, and that is WP Marshall cheering my demise in the background.
If I did that, I would ring a bell. Oh wait, there we go. So what do we got then? In Team Blue, we have, in this spawn here, we've got Elodea going bots into vehicles, into 3rd vehicles. And on the other Team Blue side, we've got Kiwi and his Beast Commander going bots into air. Meanwhile, on the south, directly south of Kiwi, we've got another Beast Commander, but this one with a little crown. It's Andreas with double vehicle start. There's that crown for you, the lovely old Beast. Oh, it glows, look. It glows. Doesn't it glow? It glows pretty. Yeah, the crown glows.
That's what it does.
It's pretty quick. Pretty. And meanwhile, on the other side, though, we've got Matiz going into double vehicles as well. Very vehicle heavy from these guys. Vehicle. Strikers everywhere already. It does mean that vehicle fabs are slower and will expand slower, therefore, but strikers are everywhere. And from the north spawn as well, we've got strikers coming down. We've got a red striker killed off in the middle for the red team there. Kiwi and Elodea getting a little bit of a defensive win on that one. Meanwhile, though, Andreas on his side coming up. I'll get to that ping in just a second, but we've got these strikers here moving in different zones. We've got a skitter coming in, getting a scout. He's going to see where fabbers are and where they are not. And these strikers here should be able to deal with the docks, maybe not necessarily the spark. Retreating, there is Kiwi. Now, you mentioned a little drop in the middle here.
I did. That's interesting. While you've been sort of analysing the early stages of play, I've been looking around the map and trying to sort of ascertain where this is going to be going in the longer term. What we've actually got is our two teams are separated by this ridge right down the middle. There is absolutely no path through except for at the poles. But other than that, these two teams are basically doing a 1v1 in each of these two lanes, which to my mind might explain why they've chosen to go so heavy with the vehicles, because it's all about lane pushing at this stage. There are some expansion opportunities to the back, but really they can't support one another very well, so each of these players is in effect playing a 1v1. The exception being these little platforms in the middle, which the blue team very cleverly used a pelican to drop a bot fabber on to expand onto these 6 metal deposits here, which cannot be raided from the lanes below. So these are protected from all but air raids at this stage. It's a really safe bit of metal right in the middle of the map. Really good use of that bot being dropped in there.
We'd had some heavy early wins from Andreas there as he skirted around Kiwi's base, his main spawn base no less, and took out 3 metal sites.
Oof.
With just a small group of strikers. And here comes a follow-up, getting picked off by Icarus on the way and then rolling into a barrage of grenadiers. Kiwi having to be put on the defensive here almost because of Andreas's just constant aggression. On the other side though, looks like Elodea and Matiz are going toe-to-toe. Matiz pushing his commander up into the little central lane there. Most interesting indeed.
It looks like there were some early, I didn't see them, but looking at the fabricator count throughout that, there were some early fabricator snipes by the blue team against red, because they were down to half their fabricator count. It has subsequently recovered, but I'll be interested to see whether that has an effect later on, because those fabricators are all going to be in the base, not out expanding just yet. It looks like blue are being more aggressive and more open with their expansion, but as you said, red are really doing a great job of running around and raiding and picking off those expansions as and when they occur.
Yeah, Matiz even over here taking up the middle expansion and trying to fortify that, getting a radar, probably following up with a factory there and a point defense as well, and moving his commander into the henge there in the middle as well.
But it looks like despite the aggressive expansion by blue, looking at the economy game, red is pulling ahead here, and unless they can make some significant take some chunks out of their expansions, red have really taken a bit of a commanding lead over this map for the most part, in my opinion.
A lot of that is the raiding that they've been doing so far. They've just prevented blue from getting the middle ground and raided a bit of expansion there and around here as well. You can just see all the strikers everywhere. It's just been full on for the blue team. And we're going to have a bit of a combox in the middle over here as well.
Hooray, I love a combox.
Most interesting. Elodea versus Matiz. Clash of the old kings of the planet. These guys both held that crown back in the day, back in 2015.
And then came the docks.
In fact, Matiz running away. He don't want it. He's going to leave it to Elodea. Elodea's comm here, though. Very out in the open as Matiz comes in with grenadiers. Elodea might not want to stay here for too long, and indeed, there we go. There's a bit of a circle. And a
just
bit of a
taking out
retreat.
that Mex before he runs away. Just a little final finger up at the red team there.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, Andreas and Kiwi still sort of staring each other down over here, not being as aggressive as Matiz was to claim that central ground. Kiwi, though, managed to get a turret up with a wall in front of it to defend this middle ground. Will it last, though? It doesn't look like it will. This army of vehicles there, just slightly too powerful. Kiwi needs to follow that up with something. But on the South Pole, we see more stuff coming down from Kiwi, raiding the expansions of the red team, which is really good and exactly what they need to do.
Blue team now just about to finish their first T2 bot factory. Is it going to be enough to save them though? Because Matiz's commander now pushing right up here into Elodea's base. He needs to get those T2 bots out ASAP. Looks like they are floating economy right now somehow. They really need to try and defend this factory, get it up online. It's at 96%. They have got an advantage. They are the first to get T2 up as far as I can see. No, I am wrong. There's already one up for the red team on the other side. But as I said earlier, because these are a series of effectively 2 1v1s, Elodea is losing this 1v1 against Matiz right now, and he needs help. But unfortunately, he's not able to get it because his teammate Kiwi is also getting absolutely hounded. His front door being knocked on already by slammers, no less.
Yeah, I mean, Kiwi's just going to have to respond to this. There's no way of avoiding this T2 on his doorstep. Fortunately, there wasn't quite enough there, and something took out the Blue Hawk there. Looks like defensive Blue Hawks managed to take it out. So he's just going to have to wait. Andreas going to have to reinforce. The thing is, Matiz is just surrounding Elodea, and Elodea here looking very, very flimsy, as you say. He hasn't got much expansion. These teams are now 100 metal apart. Red really, really pulling ahead, and blue just have been completely encircled in this instance.
I'm just seeing map control effectively being surrendered here. Both of the blue players committing to these assaults right on their main base, and not really having the spare capacity to start thinking about the back of the planet, which is increasingly starting to turn a nasty shade of red.
Caster bias. I
mean, I'm nasty for them at least. And so, look at the army count now, and the fabricator count as well. Blue really have some work to do to pull back from this. It's not impossible at this stage. Stranger things have happened, and certainly snipes are not out of the question. Their commanders for the red team, both on the front line, both very exposed, certainly snipeable if blue play their cards right, but they need to be making sure that they're scouting. They need to have a good idea of where their opponent's commanders are, and if they don't do that, they're going to find themselves charging an entire army into grenadiers like they're doing over here, leaving the commander completely unchecked on his doorstep, literally right on his doorstep. This is a very grenadier heavy game, in fact, from Matiz.
Yes,
a large proportion of his army composition is grenadiers.
And he'll come into a concave here, I would imagine. Because grenadiers, when bunched up, are harder to micro against other grenadiers, whereas if they're in a sort of single file, horizontally speaking, they're much easier to micro. But Matiz there with the pelters, putting extra pressure on Elodea, who really doesn't have an answer for this. He's got T2 bots to defend, but he's just having to try and expand in a different direction. And Elodea letting his slammers get picked off by the grenadiers on the back. Unbelievably poor lack of micro here. What is this?
Must be rusty at this stage.
Oh, this is beyond rust. This is, dare I say it, bronze?
Oh! That is a nasty bit of burn there, Marshall. My goodness.
No, because I'm silver when
Vicious.
I play.
And it's just constantly that all we're seeing now is raids right in the middle of their main base, and there's no way blue can expand right now because expansion A is getting picked off left, right, and centre, and B, they just don't have the resources to commit. Their army count is so low they can't defend the fabricators. The fabricators just get sent out to die. I'd be very surprised if GGs don't get called in the near future. They must realise the position that they're in, with red banging on their doorstep the entire time.
Red pinging around the back saying, "Oh look, there's a little blue raiding force around here. Go deal with it." And it will be dealt with. It won't get into the base, but it could raid 6 mechs.
Again with the poor micro, they've been left there idle instead of doing what they were sent there to do.
I mean, there's probably a lot going on actually. Kiwi's having to try and defend the base, he's trying to put up mines as well. There's a lot going on.
Boombots just got in there and took out a pelter.
In fact, look at the army count. Blue team under 50, red team over 230.
They've got to be... There's boombots just running into their base at this point and just taking out stuff. Commander's being taken out by grenadiers. There goes Elodea.
Oof. Not entirely convinced Kiwi's going to be long behind.
He's not got much now, so again, army count is now 30 versus 250. This can't be long before GGs get called now. But their expansion right in the middle there on that platform between the two aisles, still intact.
Still intact.
Very blue.
I think it's what's kept them in the game as long as it has, as long as they have been. I think, to be honest.
But now it's 2v1. Massively under-resourced is Kiwi, or Kiwi and Elodea are both still in the game. Let's not forget. This is
most of Elodea's base has been mopped up, but of course they are sharing armies, as you say. They can control each other's units, so Elodea still has a hand, posthumously, as it were, in this.
a hand, but not a head. I'm just wondering why Red are holding off at this stage. They've got armies surrounding them. Are they just waiting just to make it as decisive? In fact, they're not waiting at all. There's an army on its way around now, and this will be the death knell if it gets anywhere near that base, which there's nothing to stop it from doing so.
Yeah.
That is a large army, mostly T2 bots and grenadiers. That's going to be pretty nasty. And just for good measure, oh no, I apologise, that's an Inferno, not a Vanguard.
Do you feel like Matiz and Andreas might just have popped themselves into the semis with this win?
I think so. Having suffered that unlikely defeat earlier on, looks like they pulled it back. And just so you're aware, Marshy, in the chat, you've been getting some serious praise for that burn. I'm not sure if it's praise or
praise
shock
or just
and horror.
Yeah.
At your cruelty.
Yeah, just complete reticence. It's like, you just said that? And
there it
the
is.
GG. Waiting to die. Waiting to die. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, was the Swiss section